Hello ladies and gentlemen, Luke Innes here and welcome to the second of 5 reviews that I'm doing over 5 days to celebrate the work of the late great Wes Craven, who a year ago in a couple of days passed on. And today I'm going to be reviewing one of his most popular mainstream works, and that is the 1984 supernatural slasher movie, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, of course, the movie is written and directed by Wes Craven. It stars Heather Langenkamp, Robert Englund, Johnny Depp and John Saxon, as well as a myriad of other people. A group of teenagers who all live on the titular Elm Street begin being haunted by strange nightmares of a man who is horrifically burnt, wears very dirty clothes, has a clawed glove on his hand. Eventually, these dreams start to turn increasingly violent. Eventually, one of the young girls, Tina, is killed in her sleep by this assailant. With the police on the hunt for her boyfriend, who they believe to be the perpetrator of the murder, Nancy, Tina's best friend, and Nancy's boyfriend Glenn set about trying to solve this mystery and try to avoid the madman in their dreams. I've got to say, if I was to compile a list of my favourite first 20 minutes of movies, of horror movies, this would be way up there. The first 20 minutes of this movie is my favourite part of this movie, because it fosters such a great atmosphere. I mean, from starting off in the dream, you know, the kind of the boiler room, it's got a real nice, it's got a really chilling atmosphere. You can kind of feel the heat and you can feel the claustrophobia of that boiler room. Then going forward, I mean, to the scene where with the sleepover at Tina's house, where Rod, Nancy and Glenn are all sleeping in the house. There's a real sort of haunted house vibe, which kind of permeates the whole movie, but particularly in the first 20 minutes. There's a vibe, you know, of strange things going on, you know, where Nancy's asleep and Freddy is sort of leaning in through the wall. All of that sort of thing is really reminiscent of something like The Beyond, the Lucio Fulci movie. Even though there is no actual haunted house, it's definitely got elements of that kind of horror in it. The movie kind of carries on in that vein. It's got a really sort of surrealistic tone because of the fact that it's set somewhere between reality and a dream. That means that kind of this movie has a very loose set of rules, and in doing that it kind of fosters a really interesting narrative, and as a result it can turn the idea of going to sleep into something to be scared of, which is a really great narrative device. And in terms of creating tension and scares, that is a great bit of work, really. In terms of the acting, you know, you've got John Saxon in this movie, and Johnny Depp obviously in a very early role. So that should tell you that the standard is really great. I mean, when you look at the way that these characters sort of interact and all of that sort of thing, it's all very believable. They really sell this script, and the script is great. So it's, you know, it's a real meeting of things coming together. And it's got to be said as well, I mean, on the subject of the script, this story certainly has a great central character in Nancy Thompson, Heather Langenkamp's character. She is very different from most other sort of final girls, if you will. I mean, she's not really in the mould of like Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween. She's not, the character isn't created from that mould. She's a heroine in this movie. She's not just a final girl, she's a heroine. She goes out specifically with the intention to catch and stop Krueger. It's not about protection, it's about fighting for dominance with this fear. That gives this movie an automatic head start against most other movies of its kind, because it has that depth of character, which is not uncommon in this sort of movie, but it's definitely desired in a lot of movies of this description, particularly in female characters. Continuing on from that as well, I mean, Freddy as the kind of bogeyman type thing in this is totally brilliant, a real work of genius. I mean, he's got, you know, and you got to bear in mind as well, at this point Freddy hadn't started with the, you know, the cracking wires and all that yet. He was a real figure of terror at this point. He was, you know, this kind of sadistic, you know, going back to the first 20 minutes, you know, when he's kind of haunting Tina's dreams the night he kills her. That scene where he is walking down the alleyway, he's got his arms are extended out all the whole way across the alleyway as he creeps down, and you know, this is God and all that sort of thing, and then he runs for her, and she turns to run away, and as she turns, he's behind her. I've mentioned in a couple of videos before, I think it was in the It Follows review, that I'm kind of have mixed opinions about jump scares, but this is an occasion where it totally got me the first time I saw this movie. That is one of the most frightening moments in this movie and in Wes Craven's career as a whole. And I mean, that just, for me, the fact that it's testament to the guy's genius. The only real problem with A Nightmare on Elm Street is the fact that it leaves it all very open-ended. I won't spoil the ending. Obviously, I'd imagine most people who are watching this have seen A Nightmare on Elm Street, so I mean, you know, that special effect right at the very end, you know the one I'm talking about with the, yeah, no, that's abysmal. That effect really puts a bit of a dampener on the movie, I've got to say, which is highly unfortunate, because up to that point this is a very enjoyable movie, and other than that I really like the end. It does really leave it open, and it's quite an obvious attempt to hit a sequel, and obviously that started a bit of a landslide, but overall, like I say, there really aren't too many problems with A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I have absolutely no worries giving it a 9 out of 10. Great movie, highly recommended. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure as always. Join me tomorrow for another Wes Craven movie, and make sure to click the link in the description to check out my podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you again soon with another review, hopefully.